And now, ladies and gentlemen, we move forward to our next segment, which is Democratizing Launch Services, Space for All. And let me invite the speaker. Let's take a look at the audiovisual screen. Yes, we have Mr. Bharath, Daka, co-founder, Skyroot, Aerospace. I request you to kindly please step forward. Mr. Naga, Bharath, Daka. All right. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in the meantime, I'd like to make an announcement about the Startup Showcase. We have the Experience Zone right outside. After this session, we'll be having a panel discussion. We'll have some eminent panelists with our session chair who will be coming forward, and we'll be moderating the entire session, post which we will have our tea break, and that's when you can proceed to the foyer area, and you'll experience a whole different world there with the beautiful stalls kept for our Startup Showcase. So yes, sir is here, so I request you, Mr. Naga, Bharath, Daka, to please step forward and take over this session.
Hi everyone, this is Bharath. I'm one of the co-founders of Skyroot Aerospace. I'll just wait for a while for the presentation to be up. Yes. No, this is fine for me. Thank you. Hello all. Thanks to NASTech for inviting Skyroot to this event to share our purpose and accomplishments so far. So we can go to. Yeah, just to give a brief intro about Skyroot, we are one of the leading space tech startup in India. We are on a mission to make space access affordable, on-demand, and reliable, and to offer space access solutions from India to around the world. And I'll come to why affordable on-demand solutions are important later. And just to give more information about us, we are one of the first private company to launch a rocket to space, which is defined as anything above 80 kilometers altitude above the Earth's surface. And one of the first, not only in India, in South Asia. We just achieved this feat in November 18th. Most of you might have seen this news coming up. And we are one of the first space tech startups to sign an MOU with ISRO to be able to utilize their facilities. And so far, we've been able to raise a capital of around 68 million to fund our launch vehicle development project so far. And we are a team of around currently 210 plus of aerospace industry professionals with a cumulative experience of more than 1,000 years. So before delving more into what we do at Skyroot, I just want to give a brief on why we do what we do. This basically what kind of impact that general, just want to throw some light on what kind of impact the space-based solutions can have on the domains of public interest like healthcare, smart cities, climate change and education. And healthcare, as Beaver Mohan Reddy garu mentioned, the tactile internet, like having a tactile internet with low latency can solve many healthcare problems in the remotest locations. And satellite-based broadband actually can enable the 5G solutions to be deployed even in the remotest locations by acting as a high bandwidth broadband backhaul for the 5G networks. So not just healthcare, even education sector in the remotest locations can benefit from the satellite-based broadband applications. Climate change and smart cities are also one of the applications which can benefit from the Earth observation solutions that are emerging over the next few years. And Digital India is, again, like being able to connect most of the Indian population to internet with 4G and 5G is possible compared to India. Even the other nations, in the developed nations, face this problem even more, where the suburbs in Australia or US are much less connected compared to some of the remote locations in India for a fact. And even the developed nations can benefit from being able to connect remote locations with high bandwidth broadband connectivity. And disaster management is one such application where, like, most of the insurance firms, banking sector is already very much using these Earth observation data for the insurance purposes to be able to assess the damage when a disaster happened, or to be able to assess the progress of a project that is being built in a remote location for a bank. All these are possible by taking real-time Earth observation data, by utilizing real-time Earth observation data. And national security is, needless to say, can utilize the secure satellite communications, and also the surveillance of applications also are very much prevalent for the national security application. And smart farming is one very good application where, like, the irrigation yield can be improved tremendously by utilizing intelligence from space. It is actually more prevalent in countries where more corporate farming is the norm. And India also, in the future, we hope more smart farming solutions with space-enabled intelligence will be prevalent. And all these applications are just the applications from the communication and Earth observation capabilities that can be availed from space. And just to give you an overview of the space industry, so all the applications I just mentioned, and of course, most of us are already aware about the common general public use applications like GPS, D2H applications, which are already direct-to-consumer applications we are using. So all these applications together, they considered as a downstream applications in space sector, which forms a chunk of the market size of the space sector around the world. And these downstream applications are actually enabled by what's called an upstream sector, which is essentially the infrastructure that is needed to enable these downstream applications, which is essentially the manufacturing of satellites, transporting these satellites into space, all these, and the ground station solutions. All this is the infrastructure that is needed to enable the downstream market. Just to give you a glimpse of an idea, like the entire upstream infrastructure, the entire upstream infrastructure is less than 30 billion market as of now, and this is enabling more than 300 billion of market worth of downstream applications. So that is the capacity that infrastructure can enable, at 10x, 20x downstream market, it can enable any upstream infrastructure. And just coming back to the upstream, Skyroot is operating in the domain of launch services. We are essentially a transportation company from Earth to orbit. And we provide transportation services to the satellite manufacturers who wish to put their satellites into orbit and provide or enable these downstream services. So let's take a look at the satellite trends that have been over the past decade. So if you see the over the last decade, the average satellite size has been consistently reducing, and in 2020, the average satellite mass has become 432 kg, and in the current decade, it will go even further below 200 kg and mostly plateau there for a while. And most of these satellites that are going to be launched over the next decade, more than 35,000 small satellites are estimated to be launched in the next decade, and more than 80% of them are for the satellite broadband applications and Earth observation applications. And there are some other research applications which will be possible only when the access to space becomes so much affordable. Like other than the communication and Earth observation, currently there are a lot of research happening in like manufacturing in space. There are certain manufacturing techniques that can benefit from zero gravity environment, like making a high quality optical fiber. And even in the pharmaceutical industry, there are some benefits of manufacturing some certain medicines in zero gravity environments. So once the access to space becomes orders of magnitude more affordable, there will be plethora of applications which we cannot foresee today that will be made possible. Just to give you one other example, there's a company working on storage in space as a solution, data storage in space, because as you know, most of the big tech companies are facing this kind of trouble from all sovereign nations to as an obligation to store the nation's data within that nation. And so having like a huge storage, data storage solution in space, because as you know, anything above 80 kilometer, 100 kilometer landmark is not a sovereign territory. There are companies who are planning over the next decade to provide data storage solutions to big techs so that they need not worry about the sovereignty issues so that they can store all the data in space. So once the connectivity issue from space is solved and access to space becomes cheaper, we cannot even foresee the applications and use cases that can come up in the future. So what do these small sats need? So now, just like the trend of, as the Monadeer mentioned, like just like the trend of the electronics shrinking with time, as Moore's law applying to everything in our lives, the satellite sizes also, what a satellite of 100 kg plus or 1000 kg plus satellite was able to accomplish a few decades ago, a 100 kg satellite can accomplish now. So as the satellite sizes are shrinking, their needs, their launch needs, the kind of orbits they need to go to, the kind of experiments they can do also have been, like a lot of innovation has been happening. So their needs for going to space also are changing. But the launch vehicles, the rockets that can carry these satellites to orbit have been traditionally been developed by government space agencies around the world. And as you all know, SpaceX is the first pioneer in this field in the private sector to be able to solve the private sector-based launch services to space. And even SpaceX is actually building pretty large vehicle. The Falcon 9 is a very big reusable launch vehicle. But the kind of problem that small satellites face is the being able to go to the destination of their need. So it is what they need is affordable launch is something that is easily solvable by building a big rocket. Just like a train is much more affordable to go to a destination than a cab. Affordable is a solvable solution even by the big rockets by increasing the launch cadence. But the key solution, key value add, what a small launch vehicle, by bringing down the size of the launch vehicles also will bring to the small satellites is the on-demand launch solutions. Basically, they will have control over the launch schedule. They will have the capability to do high launch frequencies as and when they need on demand. Is one of the key value add for which the small satellites are willing to pay a premium for even to go to the orbit. So on-demand launch services makes it possible to go to the precise destination they want to, and that flexibility over control and the destination makes it more attractive for small satellite companies to go to hitch on a ride on a dedicated small sat launch vehicle. And this has been a trend around the world, and even in US, there are multiple small launch companies that have been operational. And Skyroot from India, because India is one nation, India in space is one sector where India can rub shoulders with the top 5 nations in the world. And being in India, we thought commercial space sector in private industry can emerge with equal competency because of the ecosystem that has been developed thanks to ISRO already. And we have started this Skyroot as an endeavor from India to provide low-cost, affordable, on-demand, and reliable launch solutions from India to the world. And these are all launch vehicles we are developing. The Vikram series of launch vehicles named after the founder of Indian Space Program, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. Currently, we are developing the Vikram 1 launch vehicle, which is an orbital launch vehicle which can carry around 300 to 480 kg of payload to low Earth orbit. Depends on the inclination of the orbit. The payload capacity varies. To a 500 kilometer low Earth orbit, we target to carry. It's a 3-stage launch vehicle having multiple propulsion technologies like solid propulsion technologies in the lower stages and liquid propulsion technology in the upper stages. And it is built with a modular architecture where we have the flexibility to upgrade the upper stage alone. From Vikram 1 to Vikram 2, we only upgrade the upper stage alone from a normal liquid propulsion to a cryogenic liquid propulsion, which will increase the efficiency of the launch vehicle, hence the payload carrying capacity also. And we are making it more modular. The modularity actually helps in even the assembly duration also, reducing it to less than a week, and eventually make it from assembly to launch within a 2 to 3 days time span is what we are targeting down the line once we go into the mass production. So just to share more insights about our journey so far, we started in mid-2018. When we started Skyroot, there was no space policy for private sector yet. And though we are fortunate enough to convince few investors and raise a small amount of investment to start our work. But in 2020 has become a, though it has, from a COVID sense, it has been a very bad year for the nation. But for a space sector, it has become a transformative year where the space reforms policy has been announced and a new regulatory body, regulatory and promotion body called InSpace has been formed specifically to promote and help private space sector to utilize the infrastructure that is available at ISRO and to be able to make progress. And that has helped us a lot to make to make our progress further and also get investor confidence to be able to raise for further funds so that, because as you know, most of the hard tech sector, hard tech startups, they have to face not just the market and technology problem. The unique problem the space sector used to face before to 2020 was even the regulatory risk. So the investor should not even assess, should not only think about the market and the technology risks, they used to even assess the regulatory risk and the probability of not happening and all. But that has vanished post 2020 and that gave investor community a lot of confidence, and we, not just us, the general space sector startup community in India benefited post 2020 due to these reforms. And in 2021, we first testified the first fully 3D printed cryogenic engine in private sector based in LNG LOX, which was considered a major milestone in 2021. And in 2022 November, we flew the technology demonstrator mission called Vikram S, which is the first launch vehicle in India and also in South Asia to reach space from a private sector entity. So this is Vikram S launch vehicle. This is a technology demonstrator vehicle. It's a 6 meter tall, 400 wide vehicle, which actually we use it as a to validate all the solid propulsion technologies and all the avionics that go into the launch vehicle, the telemetry system, data acquisition systems, tracking systems that we intend to use in our orbital launch vehicle have been tested here. So it gives us a lot of confidence for most of the subsystems, at least significant number of subsystems we are going to use in orbital launch vehicle have been proven flight worthy with this launch. This is a major milestone for India, Indian space sector also in general, because even though a lot of reforms have come in and the government had a strong conviction from the beginning that this ought to happen, there used to be some amount of skepticism in the space fraternity in India that whether private space sector, especially coming from the startups instead of the established corporate players, whether they can accomplish such a feats is a skepticism that was existent, and the milestones like this, being able to achieve milestones like this, will help vanish that skepticism, and the entire space fraternity is behind the private space sector now with all their support and love. So just to give you more light on, just to throw more light on the accomplishments we have done so far, this is the upper stage liquid propulsion engine which we testified in 2020. It's a fully 3D printed engine because we have subscribed to innovation in manufacturing processes that will reduce the timeline, especially wherever the metallic engines are there, we are fully 3D printing them. That will reduce the timeline of production and also the iterations also. The hundreds of parts will become just one part, and which will increase the reliability also. And we are making our full launch vehicle out of carbon fiber, which I'll come to that later. This is the fully cryogenic 3D printed engine which we have testified in 2021. And this, an LNG LOX-based 3D printed engine. The scaled-up version of this will be used in the Vikram 2 upper stage launch vehicle. And this is our entire launch vehicle is made of carbon fiber, which makes it very light and efficient. So the equivalent, like what a fully metallic rocket can carry, or let me put it this way. For the payload capacity, we are targeting around 400 kilograms. A fully metallic rocket will be 30% heavier than what we are designing now, thanks to carbon fiber, which is 30% lighter for the same strength. And full entire launch vehicle structure is made of carbon fiber, including the solid propulsion stages. And in space domain, private sector, we have tried this out because even ISRO also was never tried carbon fiber before. For the solid rocket motor stages, and we have tried this before, and we have test proven in ground testing. That's our stage 3 of Vikraman being testified in this year of March 2022, May 2022. And this is the Vikram S launch vehicle. This is the lift-off moment, which gave us all our team goosebumps while we are sitting in MCC at Sriharikota. And as I mentioned, we were able to test prove so many technologies that we have developed. Even the capability of aerodynamic simulations and the trajectory design capabilities have been proven because the flight was close to what we predicted. So the ability to predict the aerodynamics of the vehicle also have been test proven. Structures and thermal systems have been test proven. So it gives us a lot of confidence for our upcoming milestone, which is an orbital launch so essentially in the Q4 of 2023 we are targeting, an October-November timeline, which essentially will put a satellite into the orbit, the Vikram 1 launch vehicle. So we were fortunate enough to receive accolades from the PMO when we interacted, and we won 2 national awards, which is National Startup Awards and National Technology Startup Award also. Yeah, that's the gist of what we do. Thank you from Team Skyroot. And thank you, NASTech, for giving us the opportunity to present about our purpose and our accomplishments so far. And I request everyone to wish us all the best for our upcoming milestone next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Bharath. Request you to please remain on stage so we can present a small token of appreciation to you. I request, yes, sir, to please step forward. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, dignitaries. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a short tea break, but before that, we have a panel discussion, after which we can proceed for the tea break. So